Hey, Stand Tall with Dave Brown. I'm here with producer Rob. How you doing, man?
Doing great, man. How you doing, Dave?
Well, we're on the road, so no flapjacks and bacon today for you and me.
So you're in Arizona, the great state of Arizona.
Yes, and gas is $2.99 a gallon here, where it was like 4.65 to 4.85 in California.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
Huh.
Just had to throw that one in there that Californians are just getting ripped off.
Well, we get together every week, and this week again, it's been another just crazy week with a lot of presidential action with the FBI, the Epstein files being released, but not really fully released, and a lot of shenanigans going on, Dave. So I'm really interested in talking to you and catching up with you, getting some of your takes on some things. So let's start at the top. President Trump again pushing forward, had a good meeting with his cabinet, but apparently within that cabinet there was some feelings, some frayed nerves with the Marco Rubio and Elon Musk. And Donald Trump, to his credit, stood by his man, Marco Rubio. What do you take from that? I know Marco Rubio has been feeling a little bit of heat, not like he's been some of his powers being usurped. So what do you think about that whole situation?
I think he picked really strong people for his cabinet, and we're in this political fray right now where the left is just coming unglued on every little thing, and so nobody's safe from the attacks. I just watched something this morning from Akeem Jeffries,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and it was just embarrassing how he was talking to Dan Bongino. I mean, right off the bat, he uses the race baiter card. Well, this guy was white, blah blah blah, and I'm like, Bongino just called him out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I like Bongino because, people like Akeem Jeffries just gotta like knock it off. I mean, they played this. He even literally said, "Well, Black Lives Matter," and Bongino came back at him and said, "All lives matter." And I'm
Mm-hmm.
100% behind Akeem Jeffries, or not Akeem Jeffries. I'm Dan Bongino because I've said that all along. The first time I said that, I just got railed on by the wokey dokes, and so
Mm-hmm.
every life matters. Don't give me this Black Lives Matter, Brown Lives Matter, White Lives Matter. They all matter, Rob. And I think that's just carrying over to this day. The Democrats are they're just flailing and throwing wild punches at anything and everything that moves. If it involves Donald Trump, they hate it.
Well, exactly. And, we saw it the other night on Tuesday night during the address to Congress. Senator Al Green, who's supposed to be a very respected man, I'm assuming he's done a lot of great work for his community. But boy, that was a spectacle. And when he was told to stand down, I kind of felt like, you know what, that was embarrassing. Now, again, people on the other side will say, well, wait a minute. Marjorie Taylor Greene did it to Joe Biden, and Lauren Boebert, is heckling Joe Biden. This was a situation where this man was they had to stop the proceedings, and they actually were told he was told to stand down, and he refused to stand down. So it's really hard for me to jump on his side on this one. What do you think about that whole situation, Dave?
Yeah, I think whether it's Marjorie Taylor Greene on the Republican side or it's um, uh, oh, help me with his name again. Oh, the gentleman who got
Green, Representative Green,
yeah.
Congress or
Okay.
Senator Green. Yeah.
I think they're both wrong, and they both need to there's time and place. You and I talk about this all the time. It's like swearing.
Mhm.
Everybody likes to sit back and they go, "Oh, I never swear." Well, of course you do at some point. And so I think the whole thing with time and place, that is not the place for people to do a protest. There's got to be decorum. We've always had it. Standing for the president, that when he walks in through the door, for example, just basic stuff. Even though that's not your guy,
Mhm.
uh, it is what it is.
Well, do you think the speech was a little too much over the top? I mean, he's been kind of accused of making it into a campaign speech, and what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, Donald Trump's never going to make anything simple. He's not going to ever, not take the moment to go. What a difficult crowd to speak to, though. It's kind of crazy when you look at any president, that I've seen speak, and I always like watching those. You have uh, the whole thing with the Joint Chiefs of Staffs can't stand up. The Chiefs of Justices don't stand up. They're neutral. They're supposed to
Mhm.
be. And then behind them is the Democrats, and they don't stand. And Republicans have done the same thing. They don't jump up and clap at every little thing.
Mhm.
So, um, it's kind of a crazy setup. It's turned into, instead of just giving the American people the State of the Union, I think everybody in that room is a little bit too much about themselves. Like,
Mhm.
let's just kind of get it back to what's going on in the country. I thought Trump's speech was, really good from this standpoint that he is, um, had to address tough issues, and you got one side of the crowd that hates you, that literally hates you. One side
Mhm.
of the crowd that literally loves you. So that's a tough crowd. I mean, if you're a musician, imagine going into that. If you're trying to play to one side, the whole audience just doesn't do anything. No clapping, no nothing, and the left
Mhm.
side going crazy. That'd be a weird setup, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and it's really a situation of turnabout is fair play because again, many of us were very critical of Joe Biden and the Clinton administrations, but we moved forward with life. We leaned into it again, raised our concerns, but again, we weren't you know creating a deep state to crush this person and crush anybody who followed this person. And I think that to me is giving the Democrats a very bad look. And the question came up the other day to Vice President candidate Tim Walz, who is the leader of the Democratic Party, and he didn't really have an answer.
Yeah, I think right now, boy, we're in a tough spot. When you look at the distrust out there with the American people over, both sides. This just didn't happen with Donald Trump or Joe Biden. This has been coming on for a long time, and I think the fact is, a society in general. What I went through,
Mhm.
and
Sure.
the school board and everything, and a lot of this reminds me of the same stuff, just much bigger scale, obviously. But the disrespect and the way people are treating other human beings is really really thin right now. And if you're a very strong person like AOC type level, you feel disrespected. If you are on the other side and you're a Ted Cruz type person, you feel disrespected. So, um, boy, I don't know, Rob. Right now, we're in a tough spot. I think a lot of people are looking for a better run government. I really, the facts are there, the numbers are in on Joe Biden's presidency, and just about everything he touched failed, and numbers are worse. And but then you come back to Trump, and he's been in office for you know 6 weeks.
2 months. Yeah.
So people don't realize that the cost of eggs don't go up and down with the president of the United States. This is a little bit bigger than that. And then look what he inherited. I mean, he inherited
Mhm.
the country is just burning up. I mean, the border, the wars in Israel and Gaza, in Ukraine, and Russia war. It's the economy. Holy smokes! I mean, there's
Mhm.
a lot to take care of. It's going to take time, and we'll see. At the end of the day, presidents, get their work done or they don't. And
Mhm.
President Trump's being very aggressive. That would be his nature. And what's crazy about it, I think, is we had like 4 years of no Joe Biden. Basically, whoever was making decisions were
Mhm.
making those decisions basically for him. He was never around. He was never on TV. If he was, it was just a canned, you know, just ice cream type questions, just super easy. It's just, and then you go to the Trump method right now, which is aggressive. The one thing I would like to discuss again, and we've been talking about this on Stand Tall, is I still have a hard time believing that all American people don't want us to be on a more efficient country. And at some
Mhm.
point in history, whether it was Trump, Biden, Obama, Bush, Clinton, older Bush, you know, we've had to do what we're doing now for a long time, Rob. We've got to get back and sit down with the books and go. We can't keep living the same way. We just can't. And it's tough when you start to talk about money. You and I have spoke about this on the show many times. In your family, with your spouse or your siblings, your parents, your kids, you start talking about money, it's always a difficult conversation.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, it
It
is. I mean,
is.
there's never enough to go around, or other people seemingly are doing way better than you at times. So it is a struggle. That's the middle class life, you know.
Yeah, it is. I think money is just a weird subject to talk about. I think people have very unique perspectives on it, but it's tough one to get everybody
Mhm.
agree. But man, we've been overspending
Well,
for a long time. Not just under Joe Biden.
sure, but
It's
you
been
know,
going back for
a
a
couple
couple months.
names have been a couple names have popped up. It's interesting to see where the truth and what is, what's reality and what's fiction. But the name of Stacey Abrams, I know Donald Trump had mentioned her name, and maybe some funding and some questionable funding. And again, it's all to be vetted out. I have no reason to believe that it's right or wrong. I just want to get the facts on that. But the other one was a gentleman by the name of John Podesta. And if you remember that name, he was actually what Hillary Clinton's, one of her top advisors. He ran her campaigns and very much involved with both Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. Excuse me, that was a Freudian slip when I called her Hillary Clinton. I meant to say Hillary Clinton. But anyway, so John Podesta again was involved with a lot of these aid programs. Was able to set up these aid programs and billions of dollars going a lot of different places. So remember that name. I think if a lot of these investigations are going to be held true and they are going to actually go after these people, I think that's a name we're going to hear about down the road. And Stacey Abrams again, just give us the facts. Tell us your side of the story. But right now, you're not really saying much.
Well, think about it, Rob. I mean, people have been getting away with this now for quite some time, and on a local scale, look what we've been through in Newburgh, Oregon, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh, the truth will come out in Newburgh, and I'm excited for that. It'll happen here in the near future, where names will be named, and the facts are going to come out on how things really went down on the budget, just in a local community. But I know some of the shenanigans. I know what they are. I know people are going to have to own up to it at some point. And when you look at this on a massive scale like USAID, and again, I'm asking all American people to sit back and you may not like the method, but we have got one method that we have to agree on is we've got to curtail wasteful spending in our government. And it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be nice. Have you ever sit down, Rob? Because I have. I remember a long time ago working for a newspaper, and I liked the job. I was a young person at the time in my early 20s, and it was a local but a pretty good sized paper. And I remember thinking, I could do this. I kind of like this. And then all of a sudden, we had this big staff meeting, and they went to a mail-in type delivery system, and basically they didn't shut the paper down. They just laid off a lot of people, including me, and we all got buyouts. And I just remember going, "Whoa!" I saw grown people cry. They'd been there 5, 10 years. It was
Mm-hmm.
hard. It was really hard for me. Not so much. I'm like, you're going to pay me for 2 months, and I'm not going to have to work. I'll just go get another job, and I was off and running, but there were people in there that were hurting. So when people are out there now and they're saying, "Hey, I'm scared," I get it. But one thing about Americans that we have to come back and center up on is we have to balance the budget. We can't keep spending on daddy's credit card. This is not going to work. And I really believe that by curtailing a lot of our spending, then the American people can sit back and start to say, "Oh, okay, we've been way over doing this for a long time." So when there's certain things about the government that need to stay, and there are certain things about the government need to go. The National Education Association, I think their budget's like $800 million,
Mm.
something like that.
And
Or
I
it
know
might.
you've not been a fan of them, even though you were a teacher and your wife worked for schools for 35 years. You've not been a fan of the National Education Association.
Well, when we don't have to duplicate, we don't have to duplicate. That's a lot of money. I may even be more money than that. It's a crazy amount of money. And the thing is what do they do for their money? What are they doing that's that amazing? We know that the teachers unions are are killing it out there. We're not doing good in education, yet we're spending all this money. And then, like in Oregon, they want a whole bunch more. They
Mhm.
want a whole bunch more money, and we're not producing a good job. Go back to the '70s. Remember that when we were producing cars, And the cars really took a nosedive in about 72, 73. We had things like, oh gosh, what were those American Motors and,
Mm-hmm.
all those kind of crazy cars came out. And
The Pacer, yeah, Pacer.
Pacer, the quality of cars are gremlin. The
Yeah.
quality of cars went downhill pretty big time, American made cars. And
Mm-hmm.
then that's when Honda, Toyota, and Nissan, Datsun, they picked it up, and they got, it really helped their market share big time. Uh, Quality is important, and so I think right now it's going to be an interesting year. Our country, we're in that place where it's not going to be easy for us to rebound from. Like, you take the border, and 12 million people. Where are they all at? They had to go somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and they have to be
Sure.
doing something, and that costs you and me, the American taxpayers. I think we have to. The average American has to sit back and say, "This is our money. This is what's
Mm-hmm.
paying for this, and this isn't just, we got to come up with it somewhere." We're handing these people credit cards and motels in New York and Chicago, and you can stay there, and all your food's free, and your cell phones are free, and they're flying them from there to the border to these sanctuary cities. Who do you think pays for all that? The American taxpayers pay for all that, and we just have to be a lot more responsible at the local level and at the national level. And so I commend President Trump for attempting it, because it has to be done, and it's money's always a tough one to talk about.
Yeah. Well, another thing that's going on is, with the Doge cuts and Doge rolling through the federal government, a lot of federal workers are facing layoffs or just they're being let go. And I know that's caused a lot of disruption, but I guess in my view is I'm wondering if it's a situation where they're just trying to weed out workers who have not been effective for 20, 25 years. And maybe those are people who actually hurt the workforce in the long run instead of actually helping. Again, I've known people who work for specific government agencies who they go in twice a week and then play golf every other day, and that's their job, and they've been doing that for 20 years. So I don't know, Dan. I hate to see people lose their jobs, but again, if you're getting, the American people don't owe you a job necessarily, a gravy train job. And I think that's what maybe civil service at least has had the reputation of being. Maybe it's not like that, but again, that's the reputation that it has. So what do
Right.
you think about that? About just federal workers and this whole purge, and is this good or bad? And in the end, I mean, it's caused a lot of ill feelings with a lot of people.
Yeah, I think the word grifter, is big now. People are grifting off of the government, and they got to go. They just
Mm,
do. I think if we just have to recognize the fact that one good thing that could come out of this, Rob, me being a coach, hard work gets you a lot.
mm,
You can take average talent, but hard work will take you, quite a ways. And I had a lot of teams, we didn't have a ton of talent, but we had a really good work ethic, and that got us past a lot of teams that had more talent than us. And I think right now we've got to get back to a solid work ethic in this country. And the people that are grifting out there, they know they're grifting. We know that there's a lot of people out there that take advantage of situations, and they find a wallet, they know the person dropped it, if they don't give it back, they take the cash out and throw it away. you know that we got to get back to the old days where you would have handed that person a wallet and said,
mm,
"Hey, you dropped your wallet." And people might think that's really naive, but the days of walking into a Walgreens and stealing a bunch of stuff and walking out the door, and people are like going, "All right, well, whatever." Walgreens has to raise the price on all that, and and who ends up paying for that? Higher prices.
yeah.
We all do. And so, right and wrong, work ethic, all those things are going to come back into play. But you're right. People that have been sliding and sliding and grifting, they're going to whine and fuss till the cows come home, because they've been getting by on just an easy road. And life's not easy. When Candace Owens said, "Life's tough, get a helmet." Life's
Mm.
tough, get a helmet. And those people out there that are taking advantage of other human beings so they don't have to work very hard, it's got to stop.
The one thing that also came out of this week is just, the fact that, President Trump met with his cabinet again, having regular cabinet meetings are televised, are very open. People are reporting on them. But again, there seems to be a lot of fire in that room, a lot of men and women who are willing to stand up for what they believe in, and again, and to help bring out the president's vision. So that is really sitting well with a lot of Americans. I think a lot of Americans want to see that unity in that room.
Yeah, at the same time, I think, on again, I'll make sure I want our audience to know that I'm not comparing like a coaching staff to the cabinet of the president, but, I'd have 4 or 5 coaches on my staff, and we had to have some tough conversations, Rob, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to
Yeah.
play? Who are we going to rest? This kid's hurt. Or matchups, how's practice going to look if it's raining and we're in the gym again? What color uniforms, sweatshirts are we going to buy? There's always decisions every day to be made. Homework, that was a big thing to us. We always want kids to be staying on their grades and their homework. And so
Mm-hmm.
I check your grades and I come to the coach and say, hey, Rob's running 2 F's and a D, and we know he can do better. So we had a chair set up for you, at practice, first hour, basketball or tennis, you were going to do homework because
Mm-hmm.
something was going on to keep you from getting your work done. That was important to us. So you have to make decisions all the time. I think it's healthy for those guys to get in there. President Trump put a lot of very independent, strong-willed, smart people in there, and I think sometimes you need to tee it up and talk about. You and I have had our disagreements, and as soon as we're done, man, we're we're having a cup of coffee or whatever. We're moving on. We're not fighting. We're
Yeah.
discussing and debating, though, for sure. And I think, I'm seeing a few comments on here too, and it's awesome. I think people, gosh, let's get back to the point where we can have that discussion without canceling each other. Let's get back to that point where you can say something and then come right back and go, hey, man, I'll see you next time. We'll talk about it again. That's how you and I operate. And we've
Mm-hmm.
developed quite a strong friendship over a lot of things we do agree on, most things. We family, our wives, our kids, or how we look at sports, all that stuff. But we've had our disagreements, and it's like, okay, I never think about it like I'm going to lose Rob's friendship, where he's going to cancel me, or he's going to get mad at me. Now I know if I don't make you crispy bacon and flapjacks, and they're not hot and ready to go with hot syrup, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
that might tick you off.
Yeah. The hot syrup is the key. That's folks. That's what keeps me coming back.
Just so we can hang a left like Paige and I do. This is something we would do. The other producer, Paige, is our producer during the week. Uh, when you're making food out there, we went to a French restaurant yesterday for breakfast. We looked all over we were looking, trying to find a Denny's. We were trying to
Mm-hmm.
find anything we could. We ended up down in Rancho Mirage, and we see this place breakfast. We go in there. It's super fancy. I got French toast and bacon. It was awesome. You would have loved it. Coffee was amazing, but they're big on lunch and dinner, obviously, but they do a breakfast, and you know linen tablecloths, the whole 9 yards. Windows come up. It was all air breezing through right off the main road. People are walking by, and but their syrup was cold, Rob.
Nope.
And do
Nope.
that, dude. If you're out there, if you're making pancakes or French toast or waffles for your family or whatever, just take that syrup, put it in the microwave for 20, 25 seconds, and you got hot syrup going on those things, way better. That's
Yeah.
just a hot
And
tip from St. Paul.
and it flows so much better. It doesn't just glop; it flows. It's a nice. Oh, I'll tell you. Anyway, that's our left turn. But again, there's been a lot moving on. I think maybe America, this whole shock, maybe people are kind of getting a little bit used to it. But
Sure.
what do you think's coming up in the next couple of weeks? What are we going to start seeing? I know the Department of Education has been a lot of talk about, is it going to stay or is it going to go? And Linda McMahon has been confirmed there. Certainly the FBI has its hands full with a lot of big cases and a lot of activity. And then even foreign policy. We didn't even talk about foreign policy. I mean, that's front burner, probably issue number one. So what do you expect coming out this week? What do you think we're going to see
I think with
from
the
the
national
president?
education, I don't think it's going to go away. I think that they'll streamline it quite a bit. They're going to curtail it a lot, and I think that needs to be done. I think it's bloated way too big, and I think we need to get it back to our states more. And if anything, I'd like to see them, if there are any federal dollars involved, and there are to every single public school out there, our expectations need to be higher. We need to raise the bar back up. I talked to several young people at the tournament this week down here, and especially people doing marketing for BMW, Fila, the sponsors of the big tournament. And these were people like college age, right? And I said, what's making you come out here and work so hard, for these corporations? A lot of them work for marketing companies for those corporations.
Mm-hmm.
And think the same thing over and over. They said, I really like this area, but I had a really good teacher in high school that got me turned on to this. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I said, did you have to work hard? They go, oh yeah. And I think that that's one thing where I would tell all of our listeners at Stand Tall, every single episode is, our young people want to work hard. They need to
Mm-hmm.
work hard. They got to work hard. Life's not easy. Get a helmet. Life's not easy. Work hard. And that means we need to push young people. I just know Judy and I got a lot out of yesterday, for an example. I'd gotten a phone call a week ago. A young person I coached named Mike went to Westmont College, played tennis, played for me, loved the kid. And we hooked up yesterday and we met, big hug, and we went and got a beverage, and he's graduated from college now, and he's a great young man. We spent about an hour and a half together. At the end of the day, we had to go. We had to get in the car and drive from Indian Wells, Coachella Valley, all the way to Mesa, Arizona. So we had about a 4.5 hour drive. Well, he's across the stands, and we can see each other. Tennis court's not that big,
Yeah.
and everybody, the sets had the first set had ended, and so we're almost looking straight across at each other. And so I yelled his last name really loud, and he looks up at me, and he's doing this, I'm doing this, and then he's doing the heart thing, and and it's so cool. I asked him, he's got a marketing job and he's coaching tennis part time. And I
Oh,
said, "How are
cool.
you doing?" And he goes, "I'm working a lot of hours and I love it." And I said, "Do you want to do tennis or you want to do the marketing?" He goes, "Probably the marketing. I really want to work up through this company, work my tail off, and work up."
Mm-hmm.
He's got a fantastic work ethic, and he's 24 now, and I'm so excited for him because work ethic again, good attitude again, and tennis is what he's been doing for a long time, but he wants to go into the business world, get more money probably.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but it
Well,
was
I
so
know,
fun to see that.
Dave. If you get one of those mid majors under your belt, that's a little bit of cash, right?
Well, here's the shout out to Colton Smith. We saw him play from Tenino, Washington. Now he's at the University of Arizona. We just happened to catch his first round match. He'd won 2 or 3 qualifiers just to get into the tournament. In tennis,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't win, you're gone. You're home. Well, he had to spend a week qualifying for the first round. He beats Flavio Cabole from Italy, ranked 40th in the world, has been as high as number 30. And Colton is just qualifier. Good looking kid, self made player out of Tenino, Washington. I actually used to sell hardwoods to his high school way before him. And Colton beat him 2-6, 6-2, 6-3, I think is the final score. He won $40,000 for getting to the second round.
Wow.
And he lost yesterday. We watched the first set to a kid named Mickelson from United States who's 20. And I think Colton's 21, 22. And Mickelson beat him 6-2, 6-4. Good match, both USA kids. Mickelson's seeded 31, ranked 32 in
Mm-hmm.
the world. And here's Colton, a qualifier, you know, and doesn't even have a sponsor. He's wearing a fishing hat, camo, got a cut off black, sleeveless shirt. Great kid. Loved watching him play. My new favorite player. I'm not even kidding. And I saw some of the top players in the world. But again, work ethic, work ethic, work ethic. That's what he credits his
Well,
family for teaching him.
you want to give us a little, because again, maybe our viewers don't know, where are you? You're in Indian. Well, you went to the tennis tournament. You talk about where you're at.
Well, Indian Wells is the PNB, Paribas, one of the biggest banks in the world, and they sponsor a 2 week tournament. So you have your majors, you have your U.S. Open, the Wimbledon in England, you have the Australian Open in Melbourne, and you have the French Open in Paris. And those are your 4 majors, 2 week tournaments, 128 players in the men's draw, 128 players in the women's draw, plus doubles. And
Mm,
so uh, the Indian Wells in the Coachella Valley, which is Palm Springs, Cathedral City, Rancho Mirage, Indian Wells, Indio, the whole thing.
mm,
And it's a 2 week tournament along with Miami, and they're considered like the next majors. and the players
Okay.
love going to those tournaments. And so, one of the top 6 tennis tournaments in the world, and people from all over. You see people from all over Europe, Asia, South America. You're meeting people all the time. We were down there for the whole week, and it's our 12th time being down here to the desert, they call it, and the tennis garden is what they call it too, and just a phenomenal tournament, and probably 40 to 50,000 people every single day. They're setting
Mm.
attendance records. They sold all their tickets out, just absolutely jam packed with people. And so you bounce. They have about 30 tennis courts all over the complex. Some for practice. We watch some, some of the top players in the world practice. Front row, Tsitsipas from Greece, Rublev from Russia, Shelton from the United States. It's so fun. And then the first week is a little bit more general seating, and it gets into the more specific matches, and you start, paying for tickets for those. And you have stadiums with 15,000. You have this, courts with maybe 200 seats, and so you see all of that. It's fabulous. Food from all over the world, vendors from
Yeah.
all over the place. Just an amazing event.
Yeah, we Dave sent us a couple pictures and a couple of videos. He was hobnobbing with the folks from the Golf Channel too. They golf, or I'm sorry, the Tennis Channel. Excuse me,
Yeah,
Tennis
yeah.
Channel.
You know Judy, man?
Although,
Judy
who?
literally was on the Tennis Channel with Tracy Austin. Tracy's
Yeah,
a multiple time Grand Slam champion in singles and doubles. And Judy,
yeah,
yeah,
she was big in the '80s, right? Tracy Austin was in the
yeah,
'80s or early '90s. Yeah, she was the biggest thing going.
tremendous player. And Judy,
Yeah,
they look like sisters almost. They're probably about the same age, and they're sitting there, in the booth. We were there, and we shot another one yesterday. We got another one coming out from Judy and I, and it's just super fun. The people always make it the best. So I think, Rob, coming back to how we're talking about all the politics and stuff like that, I
mm,
think obviously when you meet people down here, not everybody's Republican, not everybody's Democrat, and but people just, boy, once you get out of Oregon and stuff, people are a little bit uh, like, all right, so you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, all
yeah,
right,
yeah,
peace out. I'm good. May not agree with you on who I'm going to vote for, but that doesn't mean we're not going to sit back and have lunch together. So
sure.
super
Well,
fun.
we've talked about that many times up here. There's a lot of issues that go along with West Coast living, and most of the issues start and end with the politics and the progressive views about things, and maybe kind of ramrodding policies down everyone's throats that maybe people aren't necessarily comfortable with. I mean, we've seen that here in Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, and all up and down the West Coast. It's hopefully just limited to the West Coast because the rest of America is such a beautiful place. I would hate to see the rest of the cities turn into downtown Seattle or downtown Portland or San Francisco.
Yeah, Portland does not have a good rep when you're out talking to people from around the country. We've met people from literally all over the world this last week, but around the United States, Canada, Portland does not have a good rep at this particular time. And a lot of people have been here to visit it for a business conference or a
Mm,
vacation. They know Oregon's beautiful, and you know that 90% of our state is red. It just is.
yeah,
It's politics is a tough one, but you know what? I would try to encourage everybody on the political thing. I'm conservative. And I'm proud of that. I believe in smaller government. And I believe in private enterprise. I believe in hard work. I believe in fiscal responsibility. But I will tell you that I think that we're we're moving in right directions from the standpoint of I think people are ready more than ever to I'm seeing to start discussing a little bit more. But Rob, man, go back even in our lifetime. I mean, I was a kid of the '60s. The '60s were tough, really
mm,
tough. Go back, go back to '50s. I was not there, but the '50s, you had the Cold War, and you had a lot of the threats of nuclear war coming out, and that's how we were. Our kids were under all
mm,
that. So the '70s, I was a product of the '70s and in high school and stuff, and crazy time. '70s
mm.
were just different. So we've always had political stuff going on. It's not new. We just have to learn how to navigate it. I think we compare more to the 67 to 71 2 range. I think that's kind of where we're at right now. We're in a weird spot.
Mhm.
We just are.
Yeah.
We're just in a weird spot.
Taking another left turn here. I was talking with someone maybe in their mid 20s the other day, and they were really fascinated about the draft
Yeah.
and how that all worked, and like that it was on TV and there were draft numbers. Like they just were asking me all these questions. I was still pretty young when the draft was going on. I think I was maybe 3 or 4. So I wasn't eligible, but again, I know it. People all around were pretty on edge about that draft. Do you remember those days, or were you still pretty young for that?
No, 1973, I was a sophomore at Newburgh High School, and always hot topic all the time. People that were a few years older than us were getting drafted and sent off to Vietnam, and other people didn't get drafted. Their numbers didn't pop up. I never could understand that part of it. It was like the lottery, and some people just volunteered and signed up for it. But yeah, we were looking at seniors our sophomore year that were getting their numbers in
Hmm.
1973, and then it was about mid-year or something like that. Then boom, everything ended, and so the draft ended at that point. But I don't still understand. I've never really taken the time, Rob, to investigate why this lottery of draft numbers would take you and not me, or me not you.
Hmm.
And it was just like luck of the draw, and it was like I never thought that was fair.
Yeah.
But hindsight is 2020. For history, we can always woulda, shoulda, coulda. And the Vietnam War now, when you look back at it and you see all the things that happened, you're like, oh my gosh,
Hmm.
a
Well,
lot of
but
different.
even just talking with young people in kind of what they've been taught through history and just what they've picked up, and maybe some things that are inaccurate about national events that you and I have lived through, and like well, a lot of them have questions about 9/11 because they weren't even born, in 9/11, and so it's just interesting kind of being, I think it's actually a duty for us older, more mature people to carry on that history and make sure that's accurate, make sure the younger generations knows exactly, what it was like and why there was such a defining moment in our nation's history, the draft. Because again, like you said, Johnny had to go, but I didn't have to go. But Johnny, it just was crazy. And I know, like, I had family members that did not have to go, but their friends did go. And yeah, again, it was just very confusing.
Yeah, boy, I mean, I don't even know how to even address. When I was, I think we were in fifth grade. My best friend Larry, his brother was the first Oregonian, I believe, killed in Vietnam. Stepped on a landmine. He was 19, Beaver High School
Mm,
graduate, and his name was Robert Camp. So in memory of Robert Camp and the entire Camp family, um, devastating, just devastating. I remember I took a team up one time to the uh, up by the Rose Gardens to the Vietnam War Memorial in Portland, Oregon. And
mm,
team building to me is we're going full on workout. We're running up hills and we're stopping to do push-ups, and we're doing all the team building stuff where you're basically getting your team. It's kind of like boot camp in the military, and you're just doing something really hard for about 4 hours, and
mm,
then you finish off with great pizza and you go home and everybody's exhausted. But it's to pull the team together. Well, I knew that Robert Camp, because in Newburgh, our hometown, we have a memorial park. And if you go
mm.
down there, Rob, one of these days, look on the wall, you're former military,
Yeah,
and you'll
well.
1967, and you'll see Robert Camp's name, Kamph. And I met
Mm,
him when I was a little kid a couple times. Um, but and he had a little sister, and then my buddy Larry, and he passed away in Vietnam. Well, at the Vietnam War Memorial, it's a pretty nice setup up there at the top of before you get to the zoo, and then Washington, the Rose, Park. And
mm,
so I had my team sitting there basketball, and probably have about 50 kids and about 6 coaches. And I'm talking to everybody, and I said I put them in groups, and I put a captain in charge of each group, and I said, hey, so we had seniors, juniors, freshmen, sophomores. We had varsity,
mm,
JV, JV2, freshmen, and I said I want you to take about 3 or 4 minutes per big plaque. These are wall sized plaques by 6 by 10, and all the
mm,
names of the year 1963, I believe. then all the way up around to like 1973. And there was this big, crescent moon shaped, walkway kind of going uphill. And I said, when you get to, I said, I'd like you guys to look for a name of Robert Camp. And just, he was a friend. His not a friend personally to me. I met his little brother, and I get to give the kids a little bit of information. So they all walked very quiet, probably about half hour this all took. We get to the top of the hill. I set all the kids down and I said, does anybody want to make a comment on Robert Camp? And could have heard a pin drop. And these are high school kids. And it's hard for them to be quiet. And they were just very solemn, And I remember a junior, I can't remember his name. He said, so coach, you knew, and I've got my youngest son who's full-time military leading this whole thing. He's in full camp. So, we're trying to get a little bit of a feel.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah. I said, ask me any question you want. And did you meet him? Yes. Did you know him? No, not really. I knew his family really well. I can tell you that this was devastating. I can tell you that he was 19 years old. He's barely older than our seniors. We had about 8 seniors that year. I said, can you imagine, guys, a year older than you right now? In 1967, no, he's off, going through training and getting sent off to Vietnam. Steps on a landmine, and he's killed. This happened to a lot of people over there, different ways. And again, you could hear a pin drop. And the kids asked about a dozen really, really good, mature questions. And it was very solemn. And I had a kid stand up. I'll never forget it, Rob. And he was a sophomore, and I'm trying to remember his name. And he said, Coach, would you mind if I pray? And I said, no, go ahead. And if as long as it's student led, it's not a teacher. And he prayed. And not all the kids went to church. I do. Some of our coaches did, some didn't. And he prayed right there, and not a word was spoken all the way back to the bus. Not a word. Kids were just very quiet. The next day at practice, at the end of practice, hard practice, in the gym, we sat down, and I said, anybody got anything more to say about team building? And several of the kids said, going to the Vietnam War Memorial changed their whole outlook on the war. Some of them had even looked stuff up, and it was powerful. So I think we have to remember, you're former military, you get it more than I do. I have 2 sons, full-time military, my brother, full-time Coast Guard, a career. Both my sons are career. My dad was World War II, but so were you. So thanks for serving, Rob. I think we have to know our history. We just do, good or bad. So anyway,
Again,
long story.
what a defining moment in American history that, families were just really upended by a random draw of, and again, I guess the Department of Defense did the drawing. Again, I don't even know how the whole thing worked, but pretty interesting. But I know we like to delve into history and talk about politics. So that's our little segment on that. But Dave, a couple things I wanted before we go. A lot of things going on with the new website. We have our funnel build, so we're getting ready to really launch that. But I just really want to encourage people to like and subscribe. Help us out. Just hit the like button, subscribe if you want to. But those numbers really help get our show out there. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. Pretty soon you'll be able to go to the website and be able to listen to episodes through the website. So again, we're doing all we can to bring you great content week after week. Dave and Judy travel all around the country and meet some great people. So now that he's getting a little bit more comfortable with the live stream, I hope he's going to be able to do a lot of interviews on the road here for us. So we're getting him all trained up. But anyway, just want to put that out there. Please hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps us out.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Rob. I think we got everybody out there, and then as we get really active on our website, Rob, we want to get our listeners, people calling in with their questions. Again, we go politics, we go education, we go Jesus, we go sports, we go people. So, we go real serious to kind of fun. We've got a cooking series coming up. We got a mental health series coming up. We've got a business series coming up. Judy's going to join me for the 1-hour dates that we do. And so hopefully encouraging other couples to know. Go.
Real quick, randomly, I just met someone else who claims that their wife makes the best cinnamon rolls. So I might have a third entry into your cinnamon roll contest.
Local in our area?
Well, they live in Dallas, so it's not really local, but he
Dallas,
works at
Oregon.
George. Yeah, he works at
Oh, really?
Dallas, Oregon. He works at George Fox with me. So,
I think we're going to turn this thing into something good. And you know what? At the end of the day, if I'm wrong, I will be the first to admit cinnamon rolls are just awesome.
well,
I don't think I'm wrong. Mine are amazing. But you know, Paige's mom, producer Paige, her mom,
yeah,
we're going to probably send it around her because she gets up from Sacramento or wherever they live. When
yeah.
she gets up here, we're going to time that around that time. And I know I got a couple other entries too, so I think our kitchen's
Well,
gonna be packed.
I got to give a couple local shout outs here. Number one, to my friends down at Lyrics Cafe, which is right over there by the university. They changed up ownership. It used to be, I forget what the name of it was, but now it's
Coffee
Lyrics
cottage, coffee cottage.
Coffee Cottage. Yeah, Coffee
Pete
Cottage.
Miller
Yeah,
started that.
little house, but I'll tell you, they're doing great. And the thing is, they have some cinnamon rolls, and the way I like my cinnamon rolls with like an inch of cream cheese icing on top. I love it, and boy, they have them there. And then also the local Safeway, they've been doing great with their cinnamon rolls.
Oh, dude,
So,
what? You talking about commercial built cinnamon rolls? I don't know, Rob. I've
uh,
had the cinnamon roll at Lyrics, which used to be Coffee Cottage.
got it. Yeah,
Um, I'm not a big cream cheese fan on top, but there was pretty good cinnamon roll, not bad. I mean, I'd give
yeah.
it a 7. You know, mine are a
It's about the size of a pillow. They're about the size of a pillow, though, Dave.
pretty good size if you're going for quantity. You know,
Yeah,
if you want to go Safeway, you want to get quantity. Uh, but you know, you got
cheap
to
too. Cheap.
cheap. Rob, you're cheap. No, I think that boy, I'd love to be proven wrong if somebody's got a better cinnamon roll than me. I highly doubt it. You know, just highly doubt it. It's like lemon chicken. Our friend Sue makes a lemon chicken that is to absolutely die for. I don't know how she does it, but the skin is just golden brown, peels off perfect. It's so good. Then the chicken, you know, oh, the breast meat is just beyond compare. And then she makes perfect mashed potatoes, homemade rolls. Oh, Sue White. We didn't eat that great this week. We were watching tennis all the time, so just grabbing food, you know, on the road,
Mm.
moving, grooving, and a lot of snacking, you know, just to get through the day. So I'm I'm
So when are you when are you heading back? Or in a couple days, or are you still on the trip?
oh no, man, we're in Mesa now. We're visiting family down here. Uh, Judy's in Dallas, Texas right now on a big deal for Freedom Foundation. Um, she's you know, gone for 24 hours, and then we're back, and then we're hanging with my sister and family over here. So good times.
Oh, cool, cool, good for you, Dave. Well, again, family always important, and again, I'm glad you're being able to reconnect. Again, we would just want to remind folks we're doing podcasts here on the weekends, and then during the week with producer Paige. So that's all on Apple Podcasts. Again, tune into the shows, and I think you and Paige are connecting this week as well.
Yeah, we just did one the other day from Indian Wells, really well. And hey, I got another shout out. You ready?
Yeah.
My sister just walked in. I know she doesn't want to be on the show, but my guardian angel, my whole childhood, was my sister Judy. Then I married a
Mm.
Judy, and so, but oh,
Oh,
she's
look at that, sweet, nice.
uh, she's a quilt maker, and she's in a
Okay.
place down here in Mesa where they have a quilting club. And my mom was a quilter. She was really good. She had the old big quilting frame. So this is where my sister
Mm.
got it. She was just showing me some over coffee this morning, and I'm always impressed with artwork. You know I am.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love art of any type, any kind, anywhere. And I think quilting is right there. So she's sitting right here, and I'm bragging about her right now. She makes beautiful quilts. And but you know what? She won't make me one because she said she averages about $2 an hour because they're so labor intensive. So she loves me, but not enough to make me a quilt.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
I mean,
Well, it's
love's
nice to
got its
meet you,
limits.
and thanks for bringing us, sharing Dave with all of our listeners. Thank you.
Hey, again, standtallwithDaveBrown.com. You know, get out there, Rob. A lot of these changes coming up. They're coming pretty fast. We got some big guests coming this week. So next Saturday we'll be live stream again, but we'll be figuring out the three screen thing here. So
Yep, that's good, man. Well, listen, we'll go ahead and end it up, but I'm gonna keep you on the line for a minute, Dave. But we'll go ahead and end the stream right now. You want to take us out?
Yeah, Stand Tall with Dave Brown and producer Rob. Rob, I think I got a new nickname for you.
What's that? Oh my gosh.
I'm calling you Robbie Bobby, like Ricky
Robbie
Bobby.
Bobby. Like Ricky Bobby? Okay. All
Robbie
right.
Bobby. I think that's going to be your new
I,
name.
I will tell you, Dave, in my entire lifetime, I've had a billion nicknames. My older brothers would call me Roger. My dad called me Roger the Dodger. And then my brothers called me Rajneesh. And I've been Stag. And I just, yeah, Stag, Rob Stag. So, hey, bring it on, baby. I'll take another one.
Hey,
Robbie Bobby.
you said the word Dodger. I'll tell you what. When you're in Indian Wells, you're in California. You're only a couple hours from LA, right?
Yeah,
Lot of Dodger hats, a lot of Dodger
uh,
shirts. Just
I believe it.
you're a Cards fan. I'm a Reds fan. So
I'm going
a
to tell
lot
you,
of Dodgers.
Dave, the Dodgers, world champions, you got to tip your cap. They're world champions. Until someone unseats them, they're the world champions.
They're also world champions in spending the most money on their payroll.
You
But
do what you
this
do.
week, definitely gonna go see a Cactus League game down here.
Good deal. Good deal. Take some pictures and we'll get those posted on our website here.
Sounds good, man. Well, Robbie Bobby, we'll talk to you soon.
All right, Dave, I'll catch up with you. And like I said, hold the line as we end the stream.
Okay, peace out.